Hey guys, so Future Hayden here before at the start of this video. So I want to go ahead and say before you guys get into this video that at the middle of this video it will do a random little cut. I will definitely of course mention it a lot at the end of this video. At the second half of this video, because of really just something that happened as after recorded. I had something different for this video, a different sort of video that I recorded for this Lane Kiffin stuff and all that. But of course, after I was done recording it, before I tried to edit it, which was going to be later on today, news came out about Lane Kiffin saying that the ultimatum was not true. I guess I will definitely talk more about it later on in the video. So I just definitely want to say that this video will definitely be different, and at some point towards the middle of the video, you'll see some sort of random cut to me again. I will definitely talk about it and say why, but I just wanted to come on here real quick at the start of this video and just say why, of course, that happened. So hope you guys enjoyed the video anyway. Let's go ahead and get to my past self and get into the video. Again, hopefully you guys enjoy the video. I'll see you later. The past few days has been crazy with this whole coaching situation, especially for one guy, and that of course is Lane Kiffin. What's going on, everybody? Welcome, of course, to the BrewCrew channel. It has been a crazy, sort of crazy few days. It's a crazy weekend, and of course was a crazy day yesterday as of me recording this on Monday. If, of course, you guys heard the news about with the whole situation with Lane Kiffin, his ex-wife and family arriving in Baton Rouge for a visit to potentially, hopefully, help with the pursuit of trying to get Lane Kiffin to coach at LSU. Florida did the same thing, inviting the family to Gainesville, of course, I think over the weekend or yesterday on Sunday, literally the day after they played against Florida on Saturday, which is definitely pretty crazy. So, of course, in today's video, we're going to be kind of going over this whole situation that has happened over the past day, or few days, I should say. Of course, probably won't see this on Wednesday, but we'll still go over the stuff, because it's just a crazy situation of what's happening. And then also later on in the day, on Monday, he has been given an ultimatum to make a decision by the Egg Bowl next Saturday, November 28th, which is going to be a crazy, crazy day. So, of course, we're going to be going over mostly what everything happened first with, of course, the whole situation with his ex-wife going to Gainesville and Baton Rouge, and then we'll go into more details, a little bit with, of course, the ultimatum that he has sort of been given by Ole Miss. So, of course, we'll get into that. Before we get into that, ladies and gentlemen, of course, again, welcome to the BrewCrew channel. If you guys are new to the channel and, of course, enjoy football content, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell for future upcoming videos here on the channel. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the video. Let's go ahead and just get right into it. Of course, if you guys remember, I did say last week I didn't record that much because kind of stuffed up, my throat was hurting. Kind of feeling that right now. It's just kind of been the start of this weather and all that, getting into this weather and all that. So, not feeling bad or anything, just my throat's kind of scratchy and all that. Still kind of stuffed up, so sorry if you hear me, like, sniffling and all that. But I'm going to continue on with these videos. Let's go ahead and just get right into it. Of course, the first thing is the whole situation with his ex-wife going to Baton Rouge for a visit to potentially try to help heavily pursue Lane Kiffin to coach at LSU. But this is a big thing because guess what? Florida did the same thing. I believe it was the day before. Now, the first article I have up is talking some more about that, which of course is on LSU Sports Illustrated. This article, I believe, came out on the day, which was Monday. Yesterday, as of me recording this video, but Monday, if you guys are wondering. Mostly, of course, it just goes into mostly the big offers, and this is of course a big situation because if he does accept one of these offers for the end of the season, it's a big situation for Ole Miss, who is a playoff contending team right now and is on a historic season to try to get into the playoffs. So mostly, let's go ahead and kind of start off with this first thing that it starts off with. LSU and Florida remain serious threats to Lane Kiffin out of Oxford, with both programs set to roll out the red carpet for the hottest name of this year's coaching carousel. Mostly meaning that these two teams, us and Florida, are doing everything we can to potentially try to pursue Lane Kiffin. Will Lane Kiffin go to one of these two teams? I really don't know at this point. Of course, we'll get more into that later on. Then it goes on to say, from LSU offering blank checks to Florida having the family ties, the Kiffin sweepstakes are heating up this week, with Ole Miss Rebels navigating an open date. Then it goes on to kind of say a quote from Joel Klatt of Fox Sports that says this: "There's an old coaching what the heck does that word even say? out there with the quickest way to defeat is to be distracted," is what he went on to say. Continuing on, I think the biggest threat to Ole Miss down the stretch is distraction, and that distraction is in the form of their future head coach in Lane Kiffin. He then goes on to say, quote, "I don't know where Lane Kiffin is going to end up. I know that Ole Miss is basically telling him, hey, it's a blank check. You tell us how much you tell us what you need to stay here, and we'll do it. I have that, and I have that on good authority." So mostly they're doing sort of the same thing that LSU is, giving the blank check. Because again, that's another thing. Ole Miss has yet to sign an extension with Lane Kiffin that makes, of course, this situation more crazy, because if he signs an extension, there's no way he's going to another team because he's going to stay with Ole Miss. But he hasn't done that yet, so it's like, what's happening here? Then he goes on to say this: "I also have on good authority that LSU is prepared to do the same thing for Lane Kiffin. They'll basically tell him, the keys are yours." Mostly saying, when you come here, the keys are yours to be their head coach and try to get this program sort of back on our feet. After sort of a rough couple years, a little bit of kind of underwhelming seasons with Brian Kelly. But then Florida is a job that I think Lane would prefer over the two, from what I've been told, and they're not quite in the same boat as Ole Miss and LSU in terms of here, the sky is yours and name your price. There are more strings to this, mostly meaning there are more strings for Florida of how they're trying to pursue Lane Kiffin than what LSU and Ole Miss are doing, because they're mostly just saying, here's a check, tell us how much you want, come in or stay, and try to rebuild this program or continue what you're doing with this program. Then, of course, it goes on to say this: "Now the LSU Tigers further intensify their push with a course for Kiffin," which, of course, it mostly just goes on to talk about Layla Kiffin, Lane's ex-wife, and his kids got a private jet on Monday, which, of course, was yesterday as me recording, or 2 days ago, on Monday, with their family to set a tour of Baton Rouge. This, of course, was which was first reported by LouisianaSports.net. .net News, and then of course Matt Moscona said something about it. So definitely it's one of the biggest things, because remember, Florida did the same thing with their family going to Gainesville. Now all, of course, this stuff is going on and people are talking because really this is just a big situation. This is mostly saying, especially the one thing that Joe Klatt said about Florida being different than what Ole Miss and LSU are doing. What is Florida doing? Mostly sort of like more family ties a little bit for Lane Kiffin. We'll kind of go more into it in the other article that I have up when we talk about, of course, the ultimatum he's been given. But mostly what he's saying is LSU and Ole Miss are both giving blank checks to Lane Kiffin and saying, here's a check, here's the keys. So for LSU, they're giving him, like, here's the keys, we're going to give you it to try to rebuild and bring us back to our feet as our head coach for the program. Ole Miss is saying, here's the check, name your price, and you can continue what you're doing here at this program to rebuild this, to continue the success you are having at this program, Hey guys, so I know you're probably going to wonder why the random cut out of nowhere, and you probably seen the background's different and all that. Well, that's because this video has sort of a different second half ending to it. I had it so much different. So, of course, if you heard me say at the beginning of the video, I can't remember what I really said in the video because it's later on in the day, today, Tuesday, the day that I recorded this actual video, especially the first half, because something else just came up in the middle of the day. Right after I finished recording, which was close to 20 minutes of me recording, because I went over two sort of articles and gave you guys my thoughts on some of this stuff. Well, the second article was, of course, about the rumor of Ole Miss giving Lane Kiffin an ultimatum by next Friday, Black Friday, for the Egg Bowl on November 28th, to have a decision like, is he going to stay here or is he going to go to another team? Well, apparently that is not true, because apparently, of course, like I said before, I recorded the sort of first half, I should say, of this video earlier today, like earlier this morning, around like 10 something earlier this morning, and was mostly, of course, and mostly I will keep in the first half because I kind of would like to, but the second half is going to be a different second half and a different ending, because it wasn't until later today, because right now it is about 12:40, almost probably not really close to 1 o'clock. It's 12:40 right now. It's a little bit after lunch. I just finished lunch not that too long ago. And as I was actually about to eat my lunch and just kind of chill, eat lunch, and then probably try to edit this video, I then see a notification from ESPN. A notification from ESPN, and that says that Lane Kiffin says that it's not true that Ole Miss gave him an ultimatum. He actually said this live. I even saw a clip. He said this live on the Pat MaCafee Show. Pat MaCafee, of course, had Lane Kiffin come on, and he asked the question to Lane Kiffin and said, there's a rumors going around that Ole Miss has given you an ultimatum to decide what you're doing, what your future is as a head coach, or if you're staying with them or if you're going to another team by the Egg Bowl. Is this sort of true? And mostly he did actually say, like, if it is true, how are you, like, dealing with this with your other players, with your players? And he said, it's not true. Like, so I'm going to say some stuff from this article on ESPN. This on article ESPN. Mark Schwalbach, I think is how you say his name. There's an article by him on ESPN. He even had the clip of it of Lane Kiffin talking to Pat MaCafee, which I watched before I recorded this video. But he goes on to say, quote, yeah, that's absolutely not true. He told Pat MaCafee on his show, on the Pat MaCafee Show, there has been no ultimatum, anything like that at all. And so I don't know where that came from, like a lot of stuff that comes out there. Like I said, man, we're having a blast, and I love it here. Mostly him saying the same thing of what he said on Saturday at his interview after the Florida game, after his win against Florida, saying, look, we're having a blast, I'm having fun, and I'm loving it here. But there's a couple of things I do want to actually say, these next two things, of kind of why people thought there was some sort of ultimatum. Mostly then goes on to say, however, sources told ESPN on Tuesday that Ole Miss officials are pressing Kiffin and his agent, Jimmy Sexton, for a resolution. The athletic director, Keith Carter, has asked for Kiffin to reach a decision by this upcoming weekend, sources said. The sources stopped short of calling it an ultimatum, but they added that Carter and others wanted answers so they can prepare for the postseason, a potential coaching transition before the college football playoffs, and a search to identify Kiffin's replacement if he leaves. So mostly what it is and what it was, the people thought it was an ultimatum, is that they wanted to just know, like, hey, is there a chance, or are you actually going to go to another team at the end of the season, or potentially before this postseason, because we kind of need to find your replacement and figure something out for this postseason if you are leaving and going somewhere, is what potentially sources were actually saying. There was no ultimatum, it was just them trying to figure out what's happening with Kiffin, if Kiffin wants to stay, or if Kiffin is staying. Now, of course, I'm not really going to go much into the rest. It mostly just kind of talks about the rest of kind of what I maybe talked about earlier in this video. Again, I can't remember what much I said. Mostly, I'm keeping the half of like the first article that I look at, which of course was the one I believe with Joe Cladd talking about his ex-wife going to Baton Rouge and of course Florida and LSU trying to pursue and all that. But the second half, really, the original second half was me going over an article, which was by Sports Illustrated, talking about potentially Lane Kiffin being given the ultimatum, and of course, how awkward a decision it would be. It would be made for Ole Miss if Kiffin decides to not meet Ole Miss expectations. Mostly, of course, just an article talking about potentially thinking that Ole Miss was giving Lane Kiffin an ultimatum. But really, this kind of goes back at the end. It goes back to sort of the stuff he said at the end in the final. At the end, that kind of makes me show that he can probably potentially, it looks like he will stay at Ole Miss just because of the stuff he's saying. Because of the stuff that he's saying. He says, and he even said it. He even had Lacey, Kawan Lacey, one of the best running backs right now in the nation and in the SEC, had him with him during the interview with Pat MaCafee, and he joined with him in the video, which was with him. He was with him when he was being interviewed by Pat MaCafee, which was really great. He kind of said the same stuff that he said in the interview after Florida. He said he loves what we're doing right now, and mostly right now he just wants everything to mostly just focus on, like, you have the bye week right now, then you have the big Egg Bowl match next week on Black Friday, and after you win that, you then have to focus on the college football playoff. It kind of goes back to what he said, which was one key thing. He said to even talk about it right now would be so disrespectful to our players and how well they've played. Not only today, but potentially also saying how well they've been playing the whole season as well. And then of course, he says we got a lot of things going here, doing really well, and I love it here. Him keep saying that he loves it here and is enjoying everything that they're doing does so shines that he can potentially does sign some sort of extension. We'll just have to wait and see if that happens. Mostly either way, there is still some sort of like deadline that we are probably going to have to find out whether he does sign that extension or doesn't. Because if he doesn't, the real question is, what happens if he doesn't? Is sort of the question. Is sort of, like I said, is sort of the question. So yeah, I will leave a link. I kind of said this. I will leave a link to the one article that I technically read, if you guys have made it this far into the video, and then I'll leave a link to this ESPN. Link to this ESPN article in the description below if you guys want to go check those out. I'll probably leave a link for the other one. Probably not, because it's really now nothing to read, since now we know that from Lane Kiffin himself saying there is no ultimatum, it is not true, that he has not been given an ultimatum, and doesn't know how in the world or what in the world made that become a rumor. So yeah, sorry for probably a weird jump cut to this section. It's just, of course, out of nowhere, I see the notification pop up, and I'm just like, great, I can't really do the video, and it was just like, either I have to redo the whole video, or just probably cut out and just leave the first section, because, I mean, the first section is still pretty okay, pretty good, and all that for me to leave in, but the second half, I don't want to leave in, because now we know there is no ultimatum, and I talk a lot about the ultimatum that he's potentially given. But again, we'll still have to see what happens, not this upcoming weekend, but also next week. So next week, Thanksgiving week, Black Friday, it's going to be a big week, and it's going to be a big day next Friday. Next Friday, on Black Friday. So we'll just have to wait and see. Again, if you guys want to go check out the links, the articles, links to those will be in the description below. Again, sorry for the random cut and all sort of just weird stuff with this video if you made it this far. If you have made it this far and have enjoyed this whole video though, thank you guys for watching and making it this far. If you guys enjoyed it, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and also definitely hit that notification bell for future upcoming videos here on the BrewCrew channel. Also, before I also leave, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this whole situation with Lane Kiffin. Do you think he will stay with Ole Miss, or do you think he will probably actually go somewhere else? Let me know in the comments down below. But now with that being said, hope you guys have an amazing, wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in my next video.